Alright guys, it has been a minute since I've been able to do some community castings, partly because of my own desire to just push a Malice Darkblade Legendary campaign, partially because work has been killing me. But as the cast suggests, I'm equipped with coffee, I'm ready to roll, I'm back at it. So let's get into it. I got a couple different matchups here. And let's start with Tanker. So what do we have here? We got an Azhag matchup. So Tanker usually goes really cheap on his lords, but Azhag can do the dirty in certain matchups. So let's see how that goes for him. He's got 2 Goblin Big Bosses, got some Goblin Spears, some Fanatics, 3 Biggins, some Mobile Cavalry here, and 2 Doom Divers. On the other side, what's he going up against? He's got Cetra the Imperishable on the Mighty Necro Sphinx. There's the Sphinx on the Kimbrian War Sphinx. There's the Sphinx of Ukevs, which is the Necro Sphinx. I'm really tired, guys, so if I mess up some things, cut me some slack. There's the Necrotech on a Chariot. The Necrotech is bringing the heal spell, so he'll be able to pump that into the Sphinx of Uspec and make it go kind of crazy. It also gives him access to, I think he's got the fire damage item. No, he doesn't. Yeah, he does. Yeah, minus 22% weakness to fire damage. And of course, the ROR version of the Necro Sphinx does have that fire damage, so basically it's minus. It's an additional 22% damage buff to an already pretty hefty 616 weapon strength with anti-large bonus that you're seeing there. Cetra also hits pretty hard, and I'm not sure if Cetra can benefit from that buff as well. Let's see. No, Cetra does not have the fire damage, so there you go. So in terms of deployment, what do we have here? So Greenskins clearly going much more wide. They have more mobility than this Tomb King force, which is pretty typical of this matchup. In the back, there's some sneaky carrion, and not this traditional sort of shooting build that you might expect from a Tomb King. They're actually quite narrow. They're using the large units to try and tear out the Greenskins, and just a little bit of shooting to, I guess, maybe pull the Greenskins into their front line, but pretty high tier. Tomb Guard, Tomb Guard, Tomb Guard. They've left sort of the low tier chaff at home for the most part, aside from a little bit of Skelly Spearman, which I understand because a lot of Greenskins players, I mean, at least for a while, the meta was to run some Black Orcs, maybe a couple of Trolls, and just try and overrun the pretty weak front line of the Tomb Kings. Tomb Guard would be able to hold up for a little while against the Black Orcs, and of course with the Cetra on the Kimbrian War Sphinx, thank you, then that would be a pretty decent answer to Black Orcs. So Azhag is a little slow to respond here to the presence of the Carrion, which is doing some work here on the Doom Diver Catapult. The Carrion aren't the hardest hitting creatures in the world, but if they're given enough time to do their thing, they can certainly kill a Doom Diver Catapult. Over here, it looks like the Chariot has garnered quite a bit of attention. Goblin Big Bosses are responding to that, as is the Orc Boar Boys. But the Doom Diver Catapult, now response from Azhag's going down here. In the back line, their Skirmishers going to get into the Skeleton Archers. They're going to dive them and take them offline. So that's a nice pickup for Tanker. Each of these are about 300 gold. That's 600 gold worth of a pickup. That's about the same price as the Doom Diver, more or less. So a bit of an even trade there. Actually, the Doom Diver is holding on just barely here, shooting at some Tomb Guard, doing some nice work. It's actually chipped down about almost half of the health of the Tomb Guard, which is way more than I would have expected. In the front line, we've got the Boar. These are Boar Boys? Yeah, Boar Boys is going to go into, looks like some Skelly Spears. The Skellies are not braced, so hopefully the Boar Boys are going to get out of there before they take too much damage. They have very, very low melee defense, so they basically take all of the damage that is offered to them when they are in combat. Over here, the Cetra is doing work on these goblins, these poor goblins. The Orc Biggins are also taking a lot of damage here. The Goblin Big Boss is coming over here to help, but the Goblin Big Boss has gone into the Necro Sphinx, and the Necro Sphinx has a really high anti-large bonus. Of course, the Goblin is on the mount, so it counts as large, so it's going to take a lot of damage there. That's not a fight it's going to win, even with all the support of the infantry. And look at the HP just drip off of that Goblin Big Boss. So I think what the Goblin Big Boss should have done is he should have tried to go into Cetra instead, and he should have tried to kite the Necro Sphinx. You don't want to fight the Necro Sphinx. It's pretty slow moving, and it can be like sort of bogged down with infantry for the most part. What you want to limit is Cetra just running over your infantry. Azhag's over here. Looks like he's been on the opposite flank of where Cetra is. So Aztec does have Spirit Leech. He can be using that to sort of degen out Cetra. Now, because Cetra is on that large mount, that means that he is going to have a larger HP pool. So actually, Azheg's decided to go after the Necrotech on the Chariot, which is not a bad play, actually, because the... well, first of all, it's not going to hit as hard as Cetra might. And secondly, it's going to sort of take the support buff away. But look at the damage going into Azheg here. I mean, you do not want to be fighting the Sync of Azufex in melee combat with a large unit, especially when it's getting buffs from the Necrotech, leadership stabilization from Cetra, and the Necrotech, and access to heals. I mean, that's not how Azheg would be best utilized. But Balance Bar's still fairly even. It's not over just yet, but if these Goblin Wolf Rider archers sort of run out of ammo or aren't able to chip down Cetra, then this could be a problem. I would recommend that maybe these shots be used to focus down Cetra or the Necrosphinx or the Chariot rather than the infantry, because there's still some infantry back here that could probably fight it, or with some cycle charging maybe that could be dealt with later. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I think the bigger issue was just taking so much damage to the Goblin Big Bosses early on by trying to fight the Necrosphinx, and to Azheg. See, 3 heroes took a beating from that. Orc Boybite's going to get in here on the Skelly Chariot. That's a nice pickup for a tanker. Looks like the Chariot will probably start to crumble soon, I would think. It looks like a summon is degenerating here. This was your Shopkey summon. But the Necrosphinx and Cetra are going to get in here on the Boar Boys. The Boar Boys need to run from that fight for sure. There's no way that they can stand up to the terror-causing abilities of those large units. Goblin Big Boss is pretty injured. Let's see if he can tag Cetra in the back here. Azheg is going after the Necrosphinx again, I think. Or he tried to maybe just hit it with a rear charge and book it. I mean, if you can get in some cheeky free damage, then maybe, but... Yusef's Desiccation has gone down, so if you are going to bring these big monsters as Tomb Kings, that's a pretty nice spell to bring, because it sort of counters the mobbing tactics of just like throwing everything in the kitchen sink around the monsters and trying to just surround them. Because if it does turn into a blob fight, that cast sort of evens the playing field a little bit. So a lot of ammunition has been used to shoot down the Tomb Guard. I mean, it's kind of worked, but you have the Doomdiver catapults still online with a lot of ammunition that could have been used on the Tomb Guard. I think these guys really need to be shooting into the large units. It looks like the Doomdiver is actually trying to shoot the Necrosphinx. But yeah, for Tomb King, I think the trick is usually to try and take down the Lord. Now, Balance Bar has crept back to even here, so some things are working well for Tanker. Actually, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, a lot of the infantry has crumbled out here. So for the most part, it looks like Tanker's decided to focus the infantry rather than the large, and maybe he's hoping just for a full surround later on. Doomdiver catapults are still online. Maybe they're going to push for the Doomdivers and try and take those out. We'll see. This has turned into an interesting battle, but will the front lines hold for the Greenskins? If there's only skirmishers and flyers left on the field for the Greenskins, everything might just break because of leadership. A log's going to get popped here. Tanker's going for the ooh, a lot of damage there from Azheg into Cetra. So that's a much better target than the Necrosphinx. Actually, he's pulling it back here. He's pulling it back. Look at that damage going from Azheg. Aspect of the Dread Knight gets popped. He's going to stabilize his leadership against the Terror. Cetra is counterplaying with the physical resist of Narrow's Incantation. Goblin Big Boss is going into Cetra here. Actually, these Doomdivers have just been chipping down Cetra as shot after shot lands on them. It has been adding up in aggregate. I mean, I think it might carry this game. So I think Tanker's really showcasing the Doomdivers. I guess they don't have to be used on infantry. They can be used to chip down. Uh-oh, this is risky here. If Azheg dies if the Necrosphinx just turns around and kills Azheg, the leadership's going to be a big issue. He is wavering. That was a ballsy play there from Tanker. I don't think he needed to dive. I think things were working out well for him just for shooting. Shots are pretty much out from the Goblin Archers though. But it is enough to make Cetra crumble. And down Cetra goes. Balance bar is now solidly in favor of greenskins. I think he should be able to wrap it up, but we'll see. The Necrosphinx is not a pushover. And the ammunition on these catapults is almost done. It's a close game. Two big bosses are still up. They're going to have to be used probably pretty late once he's shipped down. Aztec is still up. He's still got the Spirit Leech. Yeah, and it looks like the Tomb Kings will concede. So, close game. Good game to Philo. Kind of testing out maybe a different style of Tomb King. It was pretty good for the most part. I mean, early on, he had some successes there. I think the Tomb Guard got a little bit distracted there, and they weren't able to push onto the Doom Divers and really shut them down. And because of that, I think the Doom Divers were able to just sort of chip down the large units. It did look dicey for a little bit there. Yeah, I think the only thing I would say to tankers maybe just choose your targets carefully, at least early on with the big bosses. If you focus on the Cambrian War Sphinx before the Necro Sphinx, then you'll have a little bit more success, I think. And once the leadership's off the field, then go after the Necro Sphinx. Okay, so we got Spiffy up against Dark Magician playing the High Elves. Let's check that out. Dark Magician, very small very small army in general. Wow, only 10 unit cards. It's crazy. He's got Tyrion, Swordmasters, Phoenix Guard, 2 units of Sisters, Fireborn, 3 units of Spears, and Everqueen, Handmaiden, whatever. And the Bretonnians, they've got men-at-arms across the front line, Battle Pilgrims, which will do very well against High Elf Spears, and then Foot Squires. The question is, will they be able to get through the Phoenix Guard and, the Sisters as well? The Sisters can also fight decently well. Swordmasters, I think, will be a big problem for the Battle Pilgrims. Early charge is going in here on the Everqueen's Courtyard. This is the ROR too. Wow. Pretty good trade for the Yeomen. I know they're going to lose that, but that's a much more expensive unit than the Yeomen. Well, I don't know. They only killed 1 unit model. That's kind of poverty, but they did take out about 10% of the HP, and they shut them down from shooting for a little while. Maybe the charge was a touch early, but yeah. These Everqueen's Courtyard are shooting into men-at-arms. Not ideal. They could possibly snipe the Grail Relic, although, yeah, I don't know. I think the best target would probably just be the Battle Pilgrims. I think it's more like guaranteed damage. Take those unit models off the field, help out the Swordmasters. Swordmasters doing some work in here against the Yeomen. What's going on the far flanks? We've got some Yeomen that have been probably tapped by the Fireborn and Tyrion. Looks like they have now been revealed. Here comes the Bretonnian infantry. Pushing into the front lines. How are they going to do? We've got the initial clash Swordmasters looking very stoic with their swords just stuck into the ground. That's a cool pose. That's the pose of the actual models on tabletop. They don't get in their charge bonus though, so they're taking a little bit of extra damage from the men-at-arms that they're not dishing out. Of course, they'll still beat the men-at-arms, but give them what you can. Give them what you can. Phoenix Guard in the back looks like they are not being used to full effect here. And that's going to open up a rear charge opportunity for the Yeomen. And they're going to do some really nice damage into the Spearmen. That rear charge, leadership could be an issue. We'll see if they hold out. The Elf Spears are fairly resolute though. Rocking kind of a base 70 80 leadership. Over here we got the Peg Knights going in on the Fireball with the support of Albrecht. Albrecht's got his heroic killing blow popped. And they're close to Spears, but they're not quite in Spears. So that rear charge is certainly going to hurt them. Fireborn got a little bit distracted there, I think, trying to rear charge some men-at-arms, which were kind of disposable, and they took a rear charge from anti-large flying cavalry, which pretty much killed them. I mean, they're down to 13 unit models now. Tyrion's here. He's going to drop the Sunfang across the front line. That should do a lot of damage to these Battle Pilgrims. He almost erases 3 units. This one goes down to slightly less than half health. It does just barely hang on. Should be able to clean up this Spearman if its leadership stabilizes. Foot Squires in reserve, not really being used yet. They could probably be used against the Swordmasters. I'm not sure about that. I mean, they'd probably lose, but I don't know what the best matchup for the Foot Squires is. I mean, they'll win against Spearmen. They'll win against Sisters. Their AP will be okay against the Swordmasters, even if they don't win. We'll see. Tyrion and Albrecht are getting into it. Pretty hot fight over there. In the back, we've got Eva Queen's Court Guard back online, shooting. Swordmaster's just anchoring that midline position, just dealing with whatever the Bretonnians can throw at them. The Keepers of the Flame that have been held in reserve have now been pulled to the forefront. It's a very close fight. Balance bar's even. It's way too early to call. But Tyrion does get broken off here. And he is terrified and he is routing. And because the Bretonnians have the mobility advantage, they should be able to chase him off the field. And make sure that he doesn't come back. If he does not come back, I don't think you need to land here, because if the Fireborn muck him up, Tyrion rallies, then that would be a big, big problem. I think you just want to fly over top of Tyrion and make sure he doesn't come back. His leadership is stabilizing here. It's very dangerous for Fireborn. They're a little slow to respond there, so missed opportunity for the High Elves, which means that Tyrion will likely continue to be chased off the field. Over here, we've got the Bretonnians. Man, they've got the Swordmasters down to about 65 unit models, almost 50% health, and they might start losing their martial mastery. I think it is still active, but it should be dropping shortly. Sisters of Avalorn being chopped up again, some stuff being rallied, just not allowing the Sisters of Avalorn to really get free and continue to shoot. But the Fireborn are back online here. Tyrion continues to be chased off the field by Albrecht. Where are the Peg Knights at? What are the Peg Knights doing? Here they are. They're attacking the Swordmasters of Holith. They're going to be able to break them off soon, I think, with another second charge or two. Eva Queen's Court Guard, down to 12 unit models. They do break. And Fireborn are going to take another charge here from the Royal Peg Knights. Eva Queen's, or sorry, the Handmaiden is going to brace their leadership and keep them fighting. And now it's just it's like really a grind. Wow, we've got the Battle Pilgrims in the back here on a quest to beat down some elves. The Swordmasters are finally wavering, but the Keepers of the Flame are very healthy still, and they're being braced by the Handmaiden of the Everqueen, which means that the leadership should be very high. Granted, they did lose Tyrion. Albrecht's coming back to the fight, and that leadership penalty is a big deal. I mean, the Keepers of Flame would probably have over 100 leadership if Tyrion was still on the field, with the encourage effect of the Handmaiden. But yeah, with Albrecht coming back, I don't know if he has another one of those tridents. If he rips a trident of Math 1 across the Keepers of the Flame, and then combos that with a rear charge, maybe he'll be able to get them to break. I'm not sure. The other thing is there is still a few Fireborn models left. Well, a few, meaning two. Yeah, they're about 89 HP, so they're almost irrelevant at this stage. Foot Squires are going to get in here. These Swordmasters are holding tough, though. They're up to almost 300 kills. They certainly proved their worth against Bretonnian infantry, being able to kill pretty much anything and everything that's gotten thrown at them. The Keepers of the Flame, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look like they've been able to really make contact with what they need to make contact with. I mean, if you're going to bring like a high-tier halberd infantry, you might want to bring some low-tier cavalry just to snare stuff so that the high-tier Keepers of the Flame can get in there and hit the cavalry units like the Royal Peg Knights. But they haven't been able to do that yet, and that's really what their niche is. So, yeah, I think at this point we can probably call the battle. I'm going to fast forward a little bit, and let's get on to the next game. So congrats to Spiffy on that one. It's a fun cast. He's left the caster at home. I don't know. I always think Albrecht is best when coupled with a life caster. But that's just me. There's different ways to play the game, right? So now we have Sixth Path, playing the Dark Elves, going up against Skaven. What do we have here? We got some Bleak Swords. I mean, most Dark Elf players tend to go with Dread Spears, so it's interesting to see the Bleak Swords here. We got some Witch Elves. On the other hand, I mean, Bleak Swords against Skaven, not a bad choice, because Skaven tends to have very little large, generally. I mean, it depends. It can go always Rat Ogres and Hellpits. You're always going to see some Rat Ogres. But the staple of Skaven army is usually Spears and Clan Rats, and Bleak Swords will do pretty well against that. He does have a decent amount of shooting. Repeater bolt throwers times 2. Shades times 2. Shades against Skaven. It's a questionable choice in my opinion. The nice thing is they can move up, usually without being seen, at least a little ways. But and then sometimes you can snipe out rat ogres or some backline infantry. But once they're detected, it's very easy for Skaven to just throw wave after wave of chaff at them and sort of grind them down or use up their ammunition. So something to be careful about, but we'll see how that plays out. The Reaper Bolt Thrower is moving its position, trying to snipe out the Warp Lightning Cannon, no doubt, as is the other Reaper Bolt Thrower over here. If they do get in range, they should trade cost effectively with the Warp Lightning Cannon, but they have taken some damage here from, at least this one has taken damage from 3 different gunning units, two artillery pieces, plus the Giselles. So probably this one needs to just drop the artillery. We'll see. I mean, they're going to do that anyways. So far, all 3 unit models are still in line, but I'm expecting that to change shortly. But if they can start disabling some of these batteries, it's going to be a big win for the Dark Elves. The bolts are pretty precise, and they do a good job. See, already one of the Warp Lightning artillery pieces has gone down. On the other hand, one of the Bolt Thrower artillery pieces has gone down. I mean, Skaven has clearly invested more in their shooting than has the Dark Elves. Wow, the Gisele's not being used to shoot the dragon. Malekith going to get in a really nice breath attack there. He's going to basically delete this unit of, well, delete. It took out half their HP. Skrulk's over here. He's taking a Soul Leech. Oh, sorry, a Soul Stealer from Malekith. Rattling Gunner's also getting in on that Soul Stealer, but Malekith is taking a lot of damage here, and in the end, probably not worth it. He used a lot of Winds of Magic, lost almost half his HP bar. So I think, at least in the early going, things are trending in favor of Skaven, but that's not uncommon for the Dark Elf versus Skaven matchup, as Skaven tends to bring a little bit more shooting. And actually, the Warp Lightning Cannon has been taken offline by the Bolt Thrower. So this Bolt Thrower is certainly proving its worth. The other Bolt Thrower is Rally. It's going to be able to reman its crew, and because it is in position, once it does get back to firing, it can fire right away. It doesn't need to pull up and take a bunch of shots as it gets into position. So shots coming in here onto the other Plague Claw Catapult, and I do think it will be able to win this trade. We'll see. This one has broken off, but yeah, you see those bolts going right into the Plague Claw Catapult artillery pieces. They are very large targets, and this is again one of the reasons why you want to use a single shot in artillery duels, because you do get the precision and you get the shots going into the actual artillery pieces, which is what you need to be doing. This Plague Claw Catapult should probably just drop their artillery for a little bit, but they're busy, I guess, because the Bleak Swords have arrived and they've gotten into. So Rattling Gunner is doing some work here. Over here we've got this other unit of Bleak Swords getting some Clan Rats. Kobold Knights are looking for a seam. Usually I don't bring Kobold Knights in the matchup against Skaven because they tend to rampage and they are large. You don't really need the AP from the Kobold Knights against Skaven. You can get it from other sources. Well, you can just get damage from other places. These Bleak Swords are going to get rear charged by a summon from Skrulk, but here comes a rear charge from the Kobold Knight. So a nice counter response from Sixpath. It is a summoned unit, but he is stabilizing the leadership of these Bleak Swords just a little bit. It's going to be a tough fight here, but actually I think these Clan Rats in the back will break. We'll see how that goes. Over here the Hydra's showing up, and it's doing damage. It's been able to break off a unit of Clan Rats. Malekith's got to be careful here. Shots from Rattling Gunners are going into him. He's going to peel out here. I am seeing a lot of really nice micro, from Sixpath. Haven't seen a lot of mistakes so far. The only thing is probably these Shades are stuck up in combat with Friendship Triads, so definitely not where they want to be. I mean, they'll do okay trading with Triads probably, or melee. Triads don't have a lot of unit models. But yeah, probably you want to pull those guys back and look for a better opening. Assassin's going to get munched on from Malekith plus the Hydra. And Skrulk is taking shots here from the Shades, it looks like they've stopped shooting Skrulk, decided to shoot the Rat Ogres instead. Mixed thoughts about that. I mean, I think if you ever have the opportunity to take Skrulk off the field, that is a big deal. Of course, Rat Ogre is also a very valuable target to take off. If they lose their mass, then that frees up a lot of opportunities for, of course, the large units like the War Hydra, Malekith, and the Kobold Knights. And yeah, shots. Oof. The spread shot, though, is doing damage to the Cold One Knights here. You definitely want single shot against Rat Ogres, and yeah, actually, it's caused the Cold One Knights to rampage and basically they're close to breaking here. Malekith can probably break these Rat Ogres with his Terror if he just dives down in there. Of course, he'll take shots from the gutter runners. But yeah, those Cold One Knights it looks like they're fighting a losing battle over there. We'll see. On the other hand, this flank is completely broken down for Skaven, so they're going to do what Skaven does best, which is run. Skrulk's in here. He's going to try and anchor them. Witch Elves getting into the Warp Lightning Cannon. Just a really, really well played game here from Sixpath overall. I am super impressed with all the things he's microed. And I like the balanced roster. Like, he hasn't brought like a huge number of units, but the units he's brought, he's been using to full effect. The Hydra's been able to get into the front line here. Shades are cutting a little bit, but the Rat Ogres are taking damage from the Bolt Throwers as the Shades cut. These Bolt Throwers have, they've paid their weight in gold, if that makes sense. Proved their weight in gold. I don't know. Something I'm gonna have to take a look at in the Skaven matchup. I have seen them do well against Skaven, so maybe I need to bring them a bit more. Rat Ogres are going to get chipped down here from the Shades. Hydra's actually being pulled back into reserves, which means that the front line of Skaven should stabilize a little bit because of the lack of the Hydra being there. But Malekith is able to break off the Giselles, who are pretty much out of ammunition anyways. At this point, the Gutter Runners, the Slings are probably... Gutter Runner Slingers are probably more of a concern than the Giselles, because the Giselles, like I said, are out of their clip. A lot of the Skaven front line that's left is really just summons here. The Triads are down to 17 unit models. Balance Fire is in favor of Skaven, actually, but the Hydra can possibly carry here. We'll see how it goes. Shades do have a lot of ammunition. I think they're going to be able to break these Rat Ogres with their next volley, and they do. The Bolt Throwers are out of ammunition anyways. Are we going to see a big breath attack? I haven't seen a breath attack go down yet from the Hydra. I do think Malekith still has his breath attacks active. He might be able to roast Skrulk from above. Some things are rallying for the Dark Elves, proving that they are not the only ones who know how to run away and rally. Or proving that Skaven is not the only one that knows how to run away and rally. Witch Elves are going to rally here. They're pretty low on leadership. If Malekith is not around, they might just break. Of course, oh, sorry, Witch Elves. These are Bleak Swords. The Witch Elves are over here. Rat Ogres are running. Looks like Sixpath is going to try and focus down these Rat Ogres. I'll fast forward a little bit here because there's a bit of hanky-janking here. Skaven's trying to wrap his Rat Ogres back into his back line, which is where they should be. Malekith thought about diving them. He probably could have broke them, but he would have maybe taken a counter charge from the Assassin. So choosing to play it safe is maybe the right choice here. He does have the... Well, I don't know, he's got options here. Ashen Triads are being shot by the Shades. Triads are a very high damage unit. They don't have armor. They don't have shields. So I like the choice to shoot the Ashen Triads. If you can get their damage off the field, that's a big win. It frees up a lot of opportunities for Malekith. I don't know what the Winds of Magic situation is looking like. We do see Power of Darkness being popped here. Is he going to go after Skrulk? I want to see another breath attack go down or something. I think there was probably another breath attack that could have been used by the Hydra. I didn't see it get popped. Here goes. Malekith going right into Skrulk. Try to do some damage here. And yes, he does. Yes, he does. Seraphon connects. Chips off about 20% of his HP. That's going to push the balance bar. Oh, summon here. Skrulk's not done. Skrulk's not done. Assassin's going to get in here, tied the Shades. Rear charge on the Shades. Shades are probably going to break. Stand your ground pop from Malekith. Shots going into the Hydra, it looks like. So the Slingers need to be shooting Malekith or the Shades. But mostly Malekith. But on the Hydra, that's not effective use of their ammunition, and they're almost out of ammunition because of it. Hydra's going to do work on this Assassin. He is wavering, but with Malekith here, he has no fear. Maybe he does still have fear, but yeah, Assassin's going to drop. And with the Assassin down, I mean, I don't know. Still too early to call here. Still too early to call. because the infantry is almost off the field. These things need to rally. So that, well, Hydra's is pretty healthy. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, balanced bar in favor of the Dark Elves. Slingers are out of ammo, which means Skrulk is going to have to fight Malekith. He's going to try, but yeah, Cycle Charge, you should be able to do it here. There's the breath. There's the breath. Nicely done, boy, 6-path. That was a really well microed game with a balanced army. I loved it. That was fantastic. Very, very well played. Malekith, he's the big daddy of the Dark Elves. So we've seen a lot of Hellebrand play from 6-path. So it looks like he's graduating to the big boy, I guess. Alright, we got Prof Xavier going up against Sadao in a free-for-all. There's obviously two other players whose names I cannot see here. So we'll see how it goes. They are playing on Desert Canyon, which is one of those beautiful symmetrical free-for-all maps. This is kind of a treat. I don't usually see Sadao play the Dark Elves. So he's got Dark Riders, Double Master, and Marathi? No, sorry. Just Marathi and one Master. That's a pretty strong air squad. I think they'd be even better off with a unit of Harpies to support them. Crows of Cain would be my recommendation. Dark Riders taking a lot of damage here early on. They're going to push right to the edge of the map just to try and stay out of range. Sadao really forcing the issue here. But the missile units are going to push up. Carrion are going to dive them. And they're going to have to just force path their way through there so that they don't break and go right off the map. This is a dangerous situation here for Sadao. Dark Rider is going to get into the Skeleton Spearman. Nero's Incantation gets popped here. I mean, you can do that, I guess. But I don't know if it's worth it. Dark Riders honestly don't hit that hard. You might want to save your Winds of Magic. Spears will do just fine against Dark Riders anyways without that buff. So looking like Sadao is having a hard time finding an opening here. Maybe a little too aggressive early on with his light cavalry. Certainly this is gone in favor of the Tomb Kings. But Chaos has shown up, and because Tomb Kings have put all their resources onto the Dark Elves. Oh yeah, look at this, painful. Dark Rider's gone. 2 units of Dark Riders, a unit of Dark Riders repeater crossbows. That's 650 plus 1,000. That's about 1,650 gold. That's pretty much gone off the field for the Dark Elves. But maybe opportunity. Marathi and the Master are going to get in on Cetra. The Blessed Blades have been popped. But I think you can only Blessed Blade one of these two. The other one should be able to get any damage here. He is going to kite that though. The Pegasus do have a little bit of trouble keeping up with Cetra. Just in terms of unless he's snared. I mean, they'll land, maybe get in a hit, but he'll keep scooting. We'll see. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, the onus is on the Two Kings player to keep force pathing though. Maybe he's distracted with the presence of Chaos. Now Chaos is going to put in a beatdown on the Tomb Kings over here on the front line. Skelly Warriors, I mean, credit to the Tomb King player. I mean, he has sort of matched them with the mass for the most part, which kept his Chosen of the Gods and other things shooting. Looks like he's focused down the Demon Spew though. I certainly would be trying to focus down Kolek, or maybe these two guys, the Master and Marathi, who've been hounding your Lord. I think they're more of a priority than the Demon Spew, even though the Demon Spew is very scary. I'll give them that, but yeah, so the Dark Elves have arrived in full force, and I mean, Tomb Kings are in deep here. They're fighting everyone right now. They're racking up a ton of points. I mean, they played a really, really good game to this point. They're just getting straight up double teamed. Tomb Guard and Spears are getting chipped down over here. And Meanwhile, Setra's taking a lot of damage, and this damage on Setra is scoring Sadao a lot of points because he is worth so much. He's a very expensive lord, and he's almost been able to catch up in the score off of the kills off the damage on Setra, and of course, you know, the fact that he's now decisively winning the front line. And pretty much everything here, I mean, is going in favor of the Dark Elves because so many of the resources for Tomb King have been wrapped up elsewhere. I do think Morathi plus a Master could fight Kolek if they so choose, but it looks like they're going to go after these Summoners of Rage first, and maybe just support the front line. It's not a bad choice. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. Kolek does a lot of damage. I wouldn't cry. Skaven have arrived, though. They're going to try and do to the Dark Elves what the Dark Elves did to the Tomb Kings, which was get in a double team. But because the Skaven took so long to arrive, the Tomb Kings are pretty much already dead. So that if Skaven was trying for like a hammer and anvil, my God, I told you I didn't sleep. If they were trying for a hammer and anvil, they're a little late to arrive on that. Kolek and Ko are winning over here. I mean, Kolek is scoring a lot of points with his Chaos Boys. So it's really a question of, I mean, who's going to kill the most valuable targets on the Tomb King roster. It looks like Kolek didn't have the speed to keep up with Setra, which means that Morathi and the Master are going to score the big points for killing Setra. Here comes the Plague Piece into the rear. It's going to try and do some work here. Amazingly, the Chosen of Gods have continued to shoot, but Blackguard are going to end that now. Setra's going to do one last fart before he dies. And down he goes. And if/when he dies, that might catapult Sadao into first place. Oh, he's decided to leave Setra, surprisingly. Setra's leadership is stabilizing. He's gone after the Plague Priest. Plague Priest is certainly a valuable target to kill. But I would probably want to just finish the job on Setra first. Front line's buckling here. So Dark Elves are in a little bit tight. Wartline and Cannons are active in the back line. Ushapti Summon's going to nab some really nice points for Tomb Kings. That's a great play by the Tomb King player, just scrapping till the last. Of course, he's almost out of the fight. But he's not done. But yeah, Morathi and the Master making some really nice contact with the Plague Priest. Plague Priest has just got to back up here and use all his infantry to screen that. The Pegasus don't have very much mass. They can get out of there. Kolek can come over here and put some taps in as well. Let's see if he tries to give Morathi the hammer. Blackguard and Magron are screening him though, looks like. And yeah, he's sort of fighting in his counter instead of getting up here on Morathi and doing what he needs to do. The Mirror Guard should be able to make contact with the Blackguard, and then that should free up Kolek to get in there. But in the meantime, Sadao scoring a lot of points for doing damage on his Plague Priest. Also taking a lot of damage, I would assume, in that infantry blob. Some Corsairs have broken and rallied over here, but Ushapti taking out the second Plague Claw catapult almost. Nah, they disintegrate before they're able to do that. So Mazurka's out, but he's not out without scoring a ton of points, up to 10,000 points. Dark Elves are pretty much scratched, except for the Corsairs. Of course, there's Morathi, who can drop a Soul Stealer at any time if she has the Winds of Magic. And then there's the Master. It looks like they're going to go in here and tag this Chaos Sorcerer of Fire. So Chaos sleeping a little bit, not protecting the caster. It's going to be another really nice pickup for Sadao, and perhaps he's going to take first place with that kill. We'll see. Chaos is fighting in here with the Skaven. It's going to be kind of an even trade, maybe. Very atrocious. I do think Skaven will probably come out on top here. Oof. Mirror Guard taking a lot of damage and not even in combat yet, as are the Chaos Warriors. So some big micro mistakes there by Chaos. Summoners Rage are fighting, I don't know, Clan Rats. Not the best target for them. And here comes Sadao with the kill on the... Oh, he's going to leave the Chaos Sorcerer of Fire. I guess if the Sorcerer of Fire breaks off the map, then Sadao scores the points anyways. Maybe not. No, it rallies. I mean, I don't know. I probably would have tried to finish him. Oh, but he gets another opportunity to kill Skrulk now. So he's just going around killing like hero after hero. Gets in a charge on the Plague Priest. Yeah, so just precision attacks, going to where he's needed most. Oh yeah, on Skrulk. Skrulk goes down. I think this should help the case for Sadao. Kolek's going to get wrapped up here by Skaven. Fireball comes in here, tags the Master. So some pretty good damage here. Sadao remembers that this guy is not actually gone. So I think he decides to try and finish him, but unable to do the dirty and finish the job. Demon Dispute break. Kolek still doing a lot of damage here. Balance bar very even. Kolek has been able to tear up virtually all of the Skaven army, but Skaven Plague Claw Catapult putting a leadership debuff and breaking Kolek in return. This is a crazy fight over here. Just everything gets washed. Big Rusty up to 1,000 or 10,415 points. Certainly pushing the Dark Elves for the lead here. Very close fight. But if a 2v1 can go in on Skrulk, that should be a lot of points. I mean, Skrulk is really annoying in terms of how he gets knocked around. Even the Mass or the Pegasus have been able to punt him, which means that these guys are not really able to just fight him fairly, kind of. If you want to kill Skrulk, you almost have to do it on foot. In a reasonable time frame. If you do it with large, so much time is wasted with him getting knocked down and then picked up. Yeah, so some very patient work here from Sadao, just making sure Kolak doesn't rally. He can take out the Plague Claws. He can take out pretty much whatever you want. He does, of course, they're still online. He's just breaking things, though. He's not committing to actually killing them or taking them off the field. But every fight he's had from a position of power, just using that mobility to full effect with the Pegasi. Marathi plus the Pegasus, of course, very, very strong. And again, like I said, if you combo them with the Crows of Cain, it just gives them a little bit of buffer and makes them just that much better. But yeah, nicely done to Stow. They're very small targets. If you don't have a native Amtok, they can often go ridiculous. Alright, last game here. This was a fun game I had against Sadao. We played a couple matchups. I was in a mood to just go for round the Hiles. We were playing on the Ember Glades. We played, I think, 2 matches. I don't remember if it was 2 or 3. He won certainly the earlier encounter. Unfortunately, I don't have that replay saved. Sadao, if you have it, hit me up and I will cast it. But I wanted to showcase this game in particular because it was a very unorthodox build. So against Skaven, I think Avalorn are a pretty nice choice because they do have Dryads. Dryads trade pretty well with most of the Skaven infantry. Skaven's brought out like a fairly intense shooting build, 2 artillery pieces, Warpfire throwers ×2. Warpfire throwers are pretty cheap. So he's got 4 static shooting units. On the far side, he also has some Giselles. In terms of his Lord's choice and leadership pocket, he's got Ica Claw on foot and a Plague Priest. So this is kind of like a Skaven version of the Nautilus on foot. You bring a Lord that's really hard to kill immediately. You make him a very small target. You bury him in your front line. And then you use your off Lord as a large target to use the Chariot action interrupt. I mean, it's a very smart choice by Sadao. That by having this as the large target, it makes it very hard for me to snipe his Lord out. He is going to use a kit like basically buried in some Skaven slaves to soak some shots. He's also going to try and hide them behind the trees. I'm going to try and deny the Playcott catapults juicy targets early on, so there's going to be a prolonged sort of skirmish aspect to this. So now he's going to use the trees as much as he can to shield him from the shots, and I don't want to waste their ammo, so I'm gonna try and find a line of sight where I can actually connect. But Sadao is going to reposition here and Frustratingly, I continue to just hit trees with my shots. For the most part, I haven't done hardly any damage, which is super frustrating. Balance bar early on is in favor of Sadao. Giselles are screening out my Handmaiden now. I've lost about 20% of my HP. I did not realize that these Shadow Warriors, well, they're hidden here. Oh, did I have the fire at will off? I think I did, because these Rat Ogres are in range. I wanted to give myself an option to put some backline pressure on the Plague Claws. Maybe pull the Rat Ogres away from the front line, give me some opportunities. But yeah, oh, here are the shots. So whether I don't know. I must have clicked on the Rat Ogres. I don't know. But anyway, they're doing okay here. But the woods have been like an impenetrable fortress for the Skaven, taking almost no damage from the Handmaiden. So that part of the battle has gone very poorly for me. This part's going okay. At least early on, but probably not beyond that. We'll see. Shadow Warriors are going to take a charge here from the Rat Ogres. I think they were trying to push up on the Giselles. Maybe I should have turned Fire at Will off, push for the Giselles to try and get them offline. But yeah, that's going to be pretty atrocious. They're taking shots here from the Giselles as they fight the Rat Ogres. We'll see how it goes. Shadow Warriors do okay in melee. 38 melee attack with a weapon strength of 32, and Rat Ogres only have 12 unit models, so it's kind of an okay matchup for the Shadow Warriors. I'm trying to shoot Ikit Claw, getting some shots into the Plague Claw catapult as well. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit here because, like I said, it is a really prolonged start. So Giselles are going to try to shoot in on the Handmaidens, going to duck and dodge. That fight with the Rat Ogres, Shadow Warriors, seems to be going pretty atrociously both ways, but now with the second unit of Rat Ogres here, these Shadow Warriors are going to break off. So there goes my backline pressure, but it did pull 2 units of Rat Ogres like pretty far away and chipped one of them down to the point where with just a little bit of terror they're going to break. So, I mean, overall, not the worst in the world. They also used up a lot of ammunition on the Giselles, which could have been used, you know, sniping heroes or whatever. Warfire Throwers are going to try and shoot in on Lariel. They're going to miss. As for me, I'm also almost out of ammunition on my Handmaidens. Sometimes the game, like even, I guarantee you I never clicked on the Skaven Slaves, but sometimes the game still shoots into whatever units are in front of them, even if you don't click on them. But yeah, Warfire Thrower shot gets in on this unit of Handmaidens. I'll be able to dodge the other one with Alariel. The Warfire Throwers are a really good choice against the Dryads because they are flammable. Of course, this is fire damage. So I see why Sadao opted to bring the Warfire Throwers because, you know, it's not uncommon for, I guess, high elf players, they are going to go with the Alariel sub-faction to bring a lot of Dryads to deal with this game front line. But Dryads, even though they are flammable, they can hustle decently well. They have okay weapon strength. If they do tag the Warfire Throwers, they should be able to lock them up and hopefully shut them down and stop them from shooting for a little bit. Do have a second unit of Shadow Warriors over here that's going to be putting in some shots, probably to this Plague Priest. Alariel's going to pop her heals, and it's go time. I brought in the big guns, the Treeman. I brought a double Treeman build. I've got one Treeman over here, second Treeman over here, and the Terror is pretty much all I have against the hordes of Skaven. And I'm hoping that Terror is going to carry me. I do have a very intense hero pocket here. They're kind of just fighting shoulder to shoulder against insurmountable odds. And I'm just hoping that so long as these models don't get full surrounded, they should be able to come out on top, even against very elite units like Council Guard. And the Treemen do a lot of damage to Council. Do damage even to Halberd units. I mean, they are known for fighting infantry. They have decent melee attack. They have some pretty good splash damage. So we'll see how it goes. I do get some charges in here with Alariel and the Handmaiden. They're doing some damage to the Plague Claw. To the Plague Priest, so that's okay. This other one, I think I tried to get her out, but she got a little stuck up here. She does get full surrounded by the Council Guard, so that's a little painful for me. So good engagement for me, bad engagement for me. Over here, though, good engagement for me. Dryads been able to wrap up these Giselles, but the Giselles are almost out of ammunition, so it's almost irrelevant. On the other hand, this other unit of Dryad is going to get a rear charge on the play class. I'm going to support them with the Spearmen because Dryads on their own are just large weight. Basically, the Rattles of Phoenix can charge them, maybe the Chariot, but by having spears there, it's kind of insurance policy protects them against that. Now, at least a little bit. These Treemen just going Optimus Prime mode on the planets, so warp fire throws and other things, using the mass to push through the spears and to get onto the warp fire throws and just shut them down with a very different preference to continue firing. Of course, the deeper I go, the harder it is to kind of maintain that hero pocket, so we'll see how that goes, but I think it's taken a lot of damage. I think maybe partly from Treemen, partly from shooting. But the Rat Ogres, their leadership is starting to break from the tear. If they're gone, there's no more mass for Skaven, and there's very little that's going to be able to shoot down the Treemen. So the map's certainly playing a role in the effectiveness of shooting, which is why I think the Treemen maybe netted me a bit more value than they would have on other types of maps. But clearly they do have a role, I think, in this type of matchup. I do want to say also that I do think heroes and individual entities are very, very strong in Warhammer. I think this game kind of showcases it. The double Treeman, double Handmaiden, Alariel, it's quite expensive. It's about 7,000 or 8,000 spent on monsters and heroes, and it can certainly carry the game. So I do think that there should be more of an encouragement to limit the amount of spend that can be spent on monsters and heroes. But hey, that's competitive analysis, and this is just for fun games, so. Enjoy the treatment. That's pretty much all I gotta say about that. They're just giving tons of problems here. It's almost like a Norska tactic. Like Norska does that basically with Mammoths, and that causes Skaven a lot of problems. But it looks like he can kind of do that with Treeman as well. They don't have the speed of Mammoths. Maybe not the same amount of mass, but they still can smash and bash front line. They still have tear. And yeah, it's fun to see a high elves rolling with Treeman. You don't see that every day. So that's pretty much it for me. I hope you enjoyed the cast. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And I might get that legendary Malice campaign going soon. I'm trying to finish this current playthrough, see how far I get. I'm kind of at a point where it might start falling apart again. And if it falls apart, no big deal. But I do think I've learned a lot, and certainly enough that if I do get a stream going, it should be interesting enough to people, that I'm not going to just die in the first 10 turns. I'm more of a multiplayer type of guy than a campaign player type of guy, but I have been having a lot of fun with the campaign lately. Anyway, enough really for me. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you around. Bye.